We're back with Josh. This is the fourth video in a series of 5, and in this episode what we're going to do is take a tour of his existing yard, the one that they built out of nothing following a hurricane, making it even more difficult, and the facilities that they put in place so that they had a place to launch their crews out of, get materials delivered. Even with this location, you can see some of the challenges that they face. So hopefully this will get you to think about ways that you can scale your business using the tools that you have at hand.
I'm Mark Olson. Luke Gibson and I have a combined 50 years in construction as fence contractors. In that time, we have both experienced failures and success. We travel the country talking with other contractors who share their experiences in hopes that their stories can make you a more successful contractor.
So the sketchy part is, and one of the huge pains for this operation is since we're confined to this back lot, none of our material suppliers will go across that bridge.
So you've got to unload up there.
So we got to unload it over here.
That bridge. This is a little sketchy for sure. They don't want to bring semis across this. That's weird.
Everything is already pulled for the job. You got the frames on there, the lumber.
These frames, you build these frames on your own, or?
We built some of them on our own. Right now we're purchasing them from High Steel Fabrication, Chris Steel and Tate.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So we keep them in stock. Up until about 2 weeks ago, we had at one time 8 campers spread out down through here, and that's what everybody was staying in. That's another battle we faced when we first started here. Is you couldn't get anybody to show up to work. It's bad all over the rest of the country. It was horrible here, especially right after the hurricane. People didn't have any places to live. It took out all the low-cost housing, apartments and things like that. So there are people that wanted to stay here and they wanted to work. They didn't have anywhere to live, and some of them didn't have transportation back and forth to work. So we bought a few more campers. We got some left over from where the Mr. Fence Indiana crews are down here. And I told the guys, I said, you stay here, you don't have to pay rent, we'll pay for your water, we'll pay for your electric. I just need you to
just be at work in the morning.
Just show up to work. And it worked out great, because if they weren't here, you could just go knock on the door. 6 o'clock in the morning.
Time to get up,
go to work. So when we started, this was all just grass. We had built that building in stages. It was just something to keep the concrete warm, or concrete dry, and to keep everybody in the dry on rain days. We could work on trucks and whatnot. That was temporary solutions. We didn't want to do anything that was really permanent.
It's going to cost a punch, and then you leave it behind.
Yeah, that's why we didn't develop this building any more than what we did, because we've already sold this building for the amount of money that we spent on materials to somebody else that's going to come take it down this weekend. It was an investment that we needed to stay organized and buy concrete in bulk and things like that. But at the same time, we didn't want to go too extravagant to where it was an expense that you'd never recoup any of your money back from.
So this is the gate shop.
Yeah, this is a makeshift gate shop. We have intentions of taking that table with us, so we've got it set up. We're going to build a table like Tony Thornton showed us, and Fence Tech and his gate building class.
So for all you people watching that think you got to have some big fancy operation and a big fancy front office,
This is a year in the making, and this is where they're at.
Yeah, almost
$2.5 million in a year, first year.
Yeah, and we started with a lay down lot, and it was two production trucks. And that's the excavator we bought. We've found that with doing storm repair, especially in this area,
It's so handy for moving everything.
you've got to
out of
have
the way,
it. So we purchased that to help tear
So
everything
there's
out.
scrap metal pile.
Well, this pile was huge about 2 months ago, and so was a wood pile, because for up until about 3 months ago, they were charging $1,200 for a dumpster for a month. $1,200 a month, and then you got to pay to dump. So my mentality at that point was, I'm not paying $1,200 a month. We'll just stockpile it until the prices go down. Well, now the prices have went down to about $450 a month, and we're having them jump in dumpsters and loading it up every day. So it was a good decision. It's a little bit of an eyesore staring at. Made a nice little makeshift community here. Kegerator.
Yeah, this is how you do it right here.
Happy birthday.
This was actually really good for building the team camaraderie.
Yeah.
When we had all those campers out there. Now, granted, there was other problems that came with that. But
Like
yeah.
people hitting the kegerator too hard?
Guys come out here on Saturday and they would all drink and have big bonfires and whatever. But we've evolved past that. The company keeps growing, and now we're going to move to our long-term professional location.
Yeah.
Well, there's cycles in the business. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you don't start out where you end up. At least you shouldn't.
No. If you do, you did it wrong.
Is this just fittings and things like that in your trailer here?
Yeah, we bought that semi-trailer. I think we gave $1,000 for it. I dug a hole and set it in there and then built all the shelves.
This whole operation here was problem solving 101, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. No, there's a lot of things we could have done. We could have dumped more money into making more permanent or presentable things, but the whole mindset was it was all temporary till we decided where we were going to put the permanent location.
Yep.
Quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty got the job done.
Yep.
So you're getting ready to upgrade the old digs to this new office, huh?
Yeah, we're getting rid of the sandy spread out there in the middle of nowhere. This is going to be our new location.
Have a nice office place. You can turn a lot of this into truck parking and material storage.
Truck parking over here. This is going to be a staging area. We're going to put in another road over here on this side, and then have storage all the way down that side for inventory.
Semis will just be able to do a loop back around the back side of this place.
Yeah.
There's even a pool here.
Yeah, there's definitely a pool here to keep the kids entertained.
Kids and your wife. Got to keep Lauren happy.
So,
But one of the coolest parts about this location is the fact that right there is the competition.
yes, that's one of
So-
our competitors.
When you buy a location, you're getting ready to set up shop permanently. One of the things you really have to consider is location, right? Location,
Yeah,
location,
is important. We think this is a great location. We know it's going to be beneficial for us because we will have a positive mindset and make sure it's beneficial for us. It could be beneficial for them. It depends on how they react to us moving across the street. But you see it nationally with CVS and Walgreens, Lowe's and Home Depot, Burger King and McDonald's. Anytime you have two businesses that offer the same services in the same location, it just becomes kind of the hot spot in that area for customers to go to, because they know if one business doesn't have it, then more than likely the one across the street will. So it'll help build clientele potentially for both businesses if everybody keeps a positive mindset. You should never make business decisions regarded on how somebody else might be affected or feel about it. It should always be based on what's good for your business. Scott Andreessen put out a video a while ago where he talked about some of the most successful business owners out there are people that give little to no regard to their competition. They're always focusing on bettering themselves and bettering their team and bettering their systems and what they're doing. So this goes in line with that. We're focusing on what's good for our company. We think this is a great decision, and we're excited about moving in and getting more organized.
And it's not just because they're across the street. That just happens to be a bonus. You like the lot, you like the location.
We found the lot, and I punched it into my GPS, drove straight here, and whenever I pulled up and seen where the property was, I kind of chuckled a little bit. But if you took that aspect out of it, it's still a great property for us. It fits what we want to do. It fits where our long-term and short-term goals are. So
it's good, clean property too.
yeah, it's like a clean slate. We can do whatever we want to. And eventually we want to have displays up here all the way across the front. Have kind of a sitting, staging area out there in the front. Probably a couple pergolas up closer to the building. Truck parking, trailer parking, employee parking. All your shop and fabrication and everything will be in the back. And then since we're planning on doing retail, we want to have all the inventory up here in the front where everybody can see it. The
more inventory people see, the more likely they are to come to your location. Our competitors are doing the same thing over there. They've got all their chain links stacked up in the front just to catch people's attention so you can see when you're going down the road. That's one thing that works when you're trying to push retail sales.
Yeah, and you got a nice high traffic area. I mean, if you can't tell, there's a lot of truck traffic. I mean, people driving by, and that's one of the other things you need is you need people, you need eyeballs. You know, if you're on a back road where nobody ever comes by, it's not very beneficial. We pay a lot of extra money for our locations just because we want the visibility. We want to be on one of the busier roads. The busier the road, the better. And that usually commands a premium in leases or property prices or whatever, but so think about that when you're choosing a location.
We've enjoyed having you along for this discussion with Josh Glover of Mr. Fence in Florida, and stay tuned for the 5th and final episode where we'll talk about his new office that they're getting ready to move into. We'll give you a tour of that, show you his grand opening, and show you the next exciting chapter in the Mr. Fence in Florida story. Until then, you have a good dang day.